This is DJ Rubbish on the ones and twos. And I just come here to let y'all know it's about to get real filthy in this mother.
It's here.
Stomach's turning. We have Javous up on the show today, Mr. Detroit.
Wow.
2/3 of the Mac Boys. So give you guys background on what the Mac Boys is. Spelled MACBOYZ. At work, at my previous place of employment, Javous sat right next to me. And for a while at work, me and Javous didn't have Mac computers, and everyone else did. Namely Joel, other homie at work. He's the other person, part of the Mac Boys. So anyway, he had a Mac, we didn't have a Mac. We finally got Macs, so I felt like it was only right that we considered ourselves a group of the Mac Boys officially. So I left, but it lives on forever. Mac Boys forever. So
you get a Mac and you immediately don't want the Mac.
No, yeah, you change up a little bit. It changes who you are.
The whole dynamic.
Yeah.
The whole dynamic.
So when I got a Mac, man, like same thing like when I got a new phone. Like I think I said on this podcast when I got it. Like when I got an iPhone XS, what? You can't tell me anyone who had like a 10 or anything below a XS, like you can't talk to me a certain way. Like you have to show me a little bit of like salute me when you see me.
Don't even try and take a picture with your old phone.
No,
like,
I will slap that. Hey, take my phone.
Yeah.
I'll airdrop you the picture because I'm not taking a picture. I don't photograph with anything under a 10S now.
Why would you?
So that's just how it is.
That's Mac Boy.
Other thing too, Javous and I make up the most dangerous backcourt in Detroit pickup basketball.
Yeah.
Let it be known. If anyone has any objections to that, we are more than willing to take on 2-on-2, 5-on-5, whatever. Bring who you want. You can bring who you want to put on our team. It won't make a difference. Also, music enthusiast, amateur DJ. Where'd you have a set at?
Ettore Market in Capitol Park.
Turn out.
Look, I come out of retirement every once in a while.
Okay, all right, do your thing.
If you're lucky enough to see me out there,
do your thing, man. What else did I have down here on you? I had a good intro for you, man.
That sounds really good. I like it already.
He's also had the privilege of hearing a ton of my rants. So a ton of rants at work. We sat right next to each other at work. So he's had the privilege of hearing me just like rant about a whole bunch of random stuff. So today will be no different.
Privilege is a stretch, but I've heard a lot of those talks. That is hilariously true.
So all right, song of the week. First, a new segment on the show. Again, you being an amateur DJ, I'm sure you have something lined up. What is your song you're jamming out to this week?
So because I'm an amateur DJ, I have to come with two. Like I'm sorry, like that's just how it is. And so the number one is going to be Old Town Road remix by Lil Nas X.
Okay.
And Billy Ray. So I feel like it's a Billboard number one right now.
Yep.
So I had to do that one. That's hot.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Did you like the original, or did you get like on it when Billy got on there? Is that when you were like, yo, I'm with it now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely when Billy got on there.
Okay.
Just it's like you have a name that I know.
Okay.
And so it made me feel a little bit more comfortable.
Listening to it.
Yeah. It just took on a whole new life of itself. Also, Young Thug.
Is that official? I saw some people asking for Thug to be on there. Is that actually going to be a thing?
Yeah. So that's what Alex in the office told me. And Alex obviously has his degree in this. Yeah.
He doesn't mess around with the hip hop music. So okay, yeah. If he said it, then again, I've seen some talks about it on Twitter and people calling for Thugger to be on the remix. But yeah, I didn't know if that was official. I am not a fan of the original song or the remix. It's not for me. It's not for me. I don't hate it. It's just not for me. So and I don't like Young Thug. So him going on it will only make me like try even harder not to listen to it and like scroll past the Twitter clips even quicker. I still to this day have not listened to the original or the remix from start to finish. I only listen to clips that, again, on Twitter when I just can't help it, or I'm on Instagram scrolling and it's like it's starting, or I'm watching like a basketball highlight, or like who was it that celebrated to it at the and some team in March Madness. Whoever, if you're listening, you were really ingrained in it, then you probably know what team I'm talking about. But they were like showing like celebrating to it like at Old Town Road after the game or whatever. But
it's a nice beat. I don't know why you haven't listened to it from start to finish.
It is. You know what, the beat, it starts out like, all right, and then I'm like, I got no word. And then in the back, I'm like, all right, I'm out. I'm done. You're done here. So
he said Wrangler on my booty.
What? I'm out. Like that. I'm sorry. That's enough for me to know that I don't need to listen to the whole. And obviously seeing the memes and stuff about Billy Ray, and it's funny. I enjoy the memes. I'm a huge meme guy. I don't think that you can ever follow too many meme accounts.
Okay.
So never. I start counting the other day. I was telling my friend I start counting because all my friends have real quick. Actually, this is rant number one. Rant number one. For any of my friends that criticize me for how many memes I send them, and a lot of meme accounts are private now, so get upset with me for sending them private meme accounts, know that I'm doing it out of love and that you should follow, because I'm saying you should be honored, because you can never follow too many meme accounts, right? I start counting. I follow 50 plus meme accounts. I stopped counting at 50. That's
a lot. Now we have a new lens, because that's a lot.
It's a lot. Hey, but I don't want to miss anything. I don't want to miss it, and I want to make sure my friends don't miss it either. So
yeah, I think so. This is like a little bit of a hot outlook on things. Is like, I remember the days of Instagram when it used to stop. Like your feed used to stop when like.
Oh yeah, when you guys said it never stops now. Yeah,
it never stops. So it's like you have a lot of memes.
I mean, it takes up most of my feed, and also the thing I like about Instagram algorithms now is that it curates it to what you like. So again, like there's people from like the random people I follow like from high school who like I don't really like your stuff, but I'm following you because you follow me, and it's just like out of love.
Yeah.
Like I never really see their posts because I don't like them, so the Instagram knows like he's not really fooling with that person anyway. But I see a ton of meme accounts because I like and save the memes, right? So I like how Instagram's algorithms are now to where every single time I go on, a lot of memes, a few people. That's how I like to keep it. So my song of the week, anyway. Now we got off on that. My song of the week is Amor de mi Amores by Natalia. Lafourcade. I do not know. Yeah, I know. It's a lot of words I don't know. Yeah. I do not understand or know Spanish. However, I have a large portion of Spanish music in my library. This song is fire, and she has a lot of other fire tracks too. So she's like a Spanish indie pop artist.
Okay.
I'll let you hear it. I'll let you hear it after we get off the podcast, and I'll put it on my story too this week. But it's hard.
So like again, another like outlook is you're just like my dad, who doesn't know like a bit of Spanish, but loves to like. He's like, yeah, like I love it, and you're like, you have no idea what they're saying.
No idea.
So it's like how. I guess it's like you're just flowing on the beat at that point.
I'm flowing with the beat and the way, and also you can tell like if someone like the way someone sings. Like, she has a beautiful voice. Okay. Like, she's a really good singer. I don't have to know what she's saying to know that she can really sing and to appreciate her voice. So I appreciate her voice and the music. But, yeah, as far as the words and lyrics, it sounds like a love song.
I think we learned our lesson with, what is that, Daddy Yankee? He's like, oh, Daddy got so weak. And we all learned our lesson where it's like, maybe we should just, like, at least pay attention to the words.
Don't know what he's saying. She has a beautiful voice, though. I don't know about Daddy Yankee, but she definitely does. So we'll go on and get into Dumbo now, so you all still listen to the podcast. I've gotten. I hope Ryan, if you're listening to this, shout out Ryan. I don't do a lot of shouts, but Ryan said that he listens to a lot of the podcasts.
Wow.
And he did give me a critique one time of like he never made it to the actual review one time. Like he's like, I listened to the banter for like 30 minutes and then like I couldn't keep listening because he never got to the review. So I apologize for that, and I do feel like he's probably echoing some of the other listeners. Maybe, I don't know. It's not gonna stop. Like the first part is not gonna stop, but I do want to get into the movie and give you guys some solid feedback on what you're listening for. So Dumbo. Disney's remake, live action film. They're doing a ton of these live action films in recent years, and now in this year, like they're just going like full ramp up. So So if you don't know the story, a young elephant whose oversized ears enable him to fly helps save a struggling circus, but when the circus plans a new venture, Dumbo and his friends discover dark secrets beneath its shiny veneer. That veneer, that wasn't necessary right there. They could have said surface. But anyway, the release date, March 29th. Notable cast. Colin Farrell. They had a big budget for casting for this. Colin Farrell.
Didn't see it coming.
Michael Keaton, Danny DeVito, Alan Arkin. So they had some heavy hitters for this Disney live action film. Well, I guess I'm not gonna say it like they haven't been doing that though, because obviously like Lion King's is like bananas. Like that casting is like they dropped millions on just casting those people. I mean,
sure.
So if you have, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, I guess I'm very confused because it's like you're getting a lot of these stars to be on these like live action remakes.
Yeah.
I don't know who was half the voices of the people.
Oh, the original?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it's necessary too. Like some films I'm like, yeah, you need a star for that. Like I don't know, and I guess they're stars for a reason, and they do things that other people can't. Which I guess we'll talk about the acting in this movie in a second. But some like this movie, like they could have got away. Like the main audience is like small children. Like they're not gonna be looking like, oh, yo, Colin Farrell's in this. Like no, like they could have had any. They could have had any. Like they could have had a whole bunch of no names in this film, and I don't think it would have taken anything away from it. Writers and directors for the film. Tim Burton was the director, which speaks to kind of how dark the movie was. I think. I mean, the original story is kind of dark anyway, but I'm just talking like cinematography. Like it was like a lot of dark lighting and just like kind of eerie at parts. The way like Dumbo looked, like his eyes kind of freaked me out, even in the previews, not gonna lie. Tim Burton famously directed or wrote on Edward Scissorhands, Beetlejuice, Nightmare Before Christmas, Love Nightmare Before Christmas, Alice in Wonderland, not the cartoon, but the live action, and then the Batman series that was from early 90s. Aaron Kruger did the screenplay, who is most famous for doing The Ring. It's so odd to me, like when you get these people like, what in their pedigree says that they should be doing this type of movie? But anyway, The Ring, Transformers franchise, so that obviously more of a family movie, and then The Brothers Grimm, which back to like on the same line as The Ring. The runtime for this movie is an hour 52 minutes. I feel like that's kind of like a sweet spot for movies now. Like I'm just noticing a pattern. Like a lot of movies are like right in that like 140 to 155 range. For whatever reason, I have done no research on why that is, or if that's like where consumers, like the average consumer's attention span drops off for certain types of movies. I don't know. I know that some movies I feel, and actually it's a quote I'm about to read here about Walt Disney about movie times. But so before I go on with some of my initial thoughts, did you have any initial, I always like to ask my guests if you had some initial thoughts before you forget. Obviously I have a lot of notes, but if that you were like, I just had to get this off my chest about the movie.
Yeah, so I actually did have some initial thoughts. and it had some hometown ties.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, if you paid attention to like the intro when they're like tracking through like whatever, like all the cities that they hit. Yeah. They hit Starkville, Mississippi.
Hey, turn up.
Hey, so again, for the listeners, that's home.
Okay.
A home away from home for me. So
I didn't recognize, obviously, again, I'm not being from there. Like I wasn't like, yo, I didn't pay attention really. I know it started in Sarasota, which I don't know why I like made note of that, but
a lot of those kind of notes. Like I was like, why? Yeah. A bunch of whys, but that was
a bunch of whys.
I was like, that was one of the biggest things that I think was my like off topic that I can't really reroute to in a contextual way.
I'm glad you brought it up then. Yeah, that is before the podcast, Javous is from Mississippi, obviously. By making that note, he mentioned like, oh yeah, I have like a connection like there for Mississippi, like I'll tell you about like afterward. I'm like, wait, what are you talking? What are you about to connect with Dumbo in Mississippi? So that makes sense. And I was like, what is he about to pull out? This.
Yeah, if you want to go see it again, it's like right at the beginning. Yeah. Just in case.
I don't know if you're gonna say something that just like make up a fact, like like elephants were like started in Mississippi, like that's their native homeland, or something random. Like what?
I could do something like that.
I have to go along with it because I don't want to like embarrass you on the podcast. But
man.
No. So some fun facts for the movie before we get started. I always love some fun facts. The story was originally a book. I didn't know that. A lot of Disney stories were originally books or like nursery rhymes. So I didn't know that. This was Walt Disney's personal favorite movie.
Really?
Interesting. Obviously not this one, the original in 1941. version, which is interesting. I wish he would have stayed alive to see some more because Dumbo is not
anybody's.
Yeah, Dumbo. You know, if I'm gonna keep it all the way a buck here. Dumbo is kind of whack. Like the original one was kind of whack. If we're gonna be honest here, the original was only an hour. And I rewatched it, so I didn't really have any strong opinions on Dumbo. It wasn't one that I like rewatched a ton as a kid. Rewatched it again before I went and saw this one. I was like, oh, it's kind of whack. Like, it's not great. You know, it's just kind of like whatever. So the movie was only an hour back then, and again, just talking about how these movie lengths continue to get longer and longer. You see, like, a lot of older movies, especially cartoon films, they were about an hour. Like, they didn't really exceed hour and 10 minutes, and now you see movies going to 2+ hours. Avengers just being obnoxious with a 3-hour runtime.
So great.
But you know, I'll wait till that review to talk about Avengers,
yeah.
I guess. But.
No, so two things. One, I think, just from like random knowledge, like all those things that we used to see had to be like drawn out, like sketch for sketch
True.
for sketch.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So it's like, I'm not trying to be making
hand cramping.
Yeah, you can't be doing that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's a little bit of one of the reasons. And secondly, like Dumbo, like how many of the films that we loved as kids are whack now? So it's like,
That's fair.
like how many Disney movies, like if I watch them, I'm like, man, that's.
You know, I will say, so I do argue a bit that, like, obviously there's a ton of classics, but there are some of the Disney Channel movies. I will say the Disney Channel ones that were fire back in the day, like the Johnny Tsunamis and the Twitch. I watched Twitches like a couple months ago. Halloween Town. All right, I'm not gonna let you do Halloween Town. Halloween Town is fire. But the whole, you're trying to sneak it in there. That one's close to my heart.
Too many of them.
There's too many of them, and they're whack. The acting's terrible. Like the production is terrible. The stories are a lot of times terrible. But at the time, they were fire. Like again, Halloween Town and Halloween Town High, all of them are fire.
All of them.
But yeah, so Walt Disney actually had a quote saying, "You can stretch a story just so far." And after that, it won't hold together, in reference to movies being too long, like not making a movie too long. And I think that is true. Again, I think that some of those stipulations back then, as far as technology and drawing, probably had a lot to do with it. Now that you say it, but I do agree that there are times where we see movies now where they're extended just for the sake of being extended, and it's like, okay, guys, let's cut this off while it's still a good movie.
Yeah.
You're not just like grasping for straws just to like fill in space, which I feel like it's kind of like when you're in college and you have a certain word count and you're just like adding in like however
Therefore.
and just random words, like it's like, all right, you don't even need, I've never even used that word.
I've never heard of that word in my life, but I found it on in the thesaurus.
Yeah, exactly. So I do think that happens a lot. Going into this movie, so I'll give my expectations of the movie first. I think that will add some clarity or maybe a lens to look through in terms of how I'm ranking this movie. So again, like I said, I watched the original one right before I went and saw this one. One, to jog my memory, and two, just to be able to compare the two, because I am very skeptical of Disney's live action, this whole remaking things in live action. I just don't, not that they've been doing a poor job of it. For me, I always feel like with sequels and remakes, I feel like you have to always answer the question, why is this being made? Because I don't think that they're necessary. So if you are making it, then you have to give me like a really good product. Like it almost has to be better than you almost have to do more in the second one than the original, just to prove to me like, why are you taking something, especially if the first one was good.
Yeah.
If the first one was bad, then it's just like, all right, that's just a bad franchise. Like, just keep doing whatever, just keep creating crap. But if you have something great, why like sully that greatness? And to keep it up is hard. So keep it up cool. Like, and it happens. Like a lot of times with music, I think a lot of times sophomore albums are the better album. Late Registration, I think Ye's best album. That's my personal opinion.
I would agree.
To Pimp a Butterfly, I think that's Kendrick's best album. Again, my opinion, but I do think that a lot of times second go round, Godfather 2, I think is the best Godfather. Again, my opinion, but I think that again, second go round a lot of times is good, but you have to ramp it up. You have to make a case for it, and those movies, songs, albums made cases for it. So
Spy Kids 2.
Spy Kids 2. Yeah. I'm with that.
Spy Kids 2.
So So, Spy Kids 2, that's funny that you pulled it. But I'm with it. Spy Kids 2 was better.
It was better.
It was better. That was the best one for
no,
sure.
but I agree 100% with you. Like, I mean, everything that you have, really, if it's a good creation, like, it's
Yeah.
gonna be better on that second run. So it's
Yeah.
like all those albums, all those movies that you're talking about. Like, yeah, don't waste your time trying to create something that you already did. Like, you struck gold with it the first time.
Right.
Like,
you gotta come harder.
Like, don't come with a terrible expectation that everybody's gonna be like, oh, like, this is gonna be better than the first one that we struck gold with. Like,
Right. So you just had to make it. You had to make it make sense. So, so again, saying how I felt about the first one not being that great. I went into this one like, okay, they have a lot of opportunity. Like, again, the first one wasn't great, so cool. You all could do a lot with this one to make this one better, make this one stick more. Especially for the younger crowd who is they're not aiming to for me. Like, when they made this movie, they weren't thinking of my demographic, right? They were thinking of younger kids, families. So again, I'm looking through that lens as well. But I do think that you can still make a great movie that adults can appreciate and still be marketing towards kids. Like, I don't think you necessarily like have a crap movie and it's like it doesn't matter because we're going towards kids, which I'll talk about later. But yeah, I do like that some of the things that they changed up in here. I really love that the villain in this one, like the villain that they had, the first villain in the movie, like who was like just taunting Dumbo for no reason, he dies pretty quickly in the movie, which I love that. Yeah, it was like great because usually you see that guy that's like just agonizing and just terrible, and they don't like get their like just due until the very end. This guy dies pretty quick. Obviously, there's another villain and other obstacles they have to overcome, but I do like that this guy died quick. So
very quickly.
Yeah, that was
it was my favorite.
Yeah, it was.
The movie.
That was probably that was the best part of the movie. It's a pretty dark movie. Like the first one's dark too in terms of just the overall story. This one, again, with the Tim Burton direction, it felt even darker. But it's a movie about animal cruelty. When it's all said and done, it's you're watching this and it's not a lot of bright spots really until the very end. Like, you're going through and it's there's some movies that are like that where it's just really hard to watch.
Yeah.
And then you get to the end and you're like, phew, well, I'm glad it all worked out, but like that was a tough watch. Where they're just going through constant turmoil.
That was this with T.
Yeah, I really felt like that's how this movie went. So as soon as they alter the storyline a bit. This movie, like I said, is double the length of the first one. So obviously I knew that they were going to incorporate a few things. It's not a cartoon, so I knew they had to change up some things, make it more relevant. There was a couple things I knew that they were going to have to adapt with. I was kind of over it as soon as I saw that they were like establishing like this backstory for the people, and I was like, I don't really care about the people. Like, I kind of want to see that just about Dumbo.
Again, it's one of those things where like, because the director has like that dark past, like he had to make some stuff dark.
Yeah.
I apologize for not like rewatching the first, but like,
yeah.
Did the main character have to have just like a clean break right here at the seams?
Yeah.
At the arm?
All right, so I have a whole section in my notes called One Arm. Because there's a lot of stuff they did with this. So Colin Farrell in the movie has one arm, and he just came back from war. There was a lot of like random like
one arm.
There's a lot of like random like I don't even know what to call them, like things in the plot that just weren't necessary. Like, there were a lot of little like nuggets that it didn't really add to the story. It didn't say take away, but this was kind of unnecessary. It was kind of it was distracting. That's the best way to put it. It's a lot of things. So him having one arm, I think, was distracting.
Very distracting.
A lot of times when someone is handicapped, not that, and not to say that there can't be someone handicapped in a movie who's just living their normal life, because that can be the case, and it's not to like underrepresent handicapped people. But typically in a movie, when there's emphasis put on someone being handicapped, losing an arm, losing the ability to walk, whatever the case is, there's an explanation there. Obviously, there's an explanation of how he lost it, but an explanation of like, this is why we did this, to prove this point that, typically the point is, even with a disability, they're still able to overcome and do things. That wasn't the focus here, so it was almost just distracting. Like, are they going to do something with that? But they didn't, and it just made tasks harder. Like, they kept giving him 2-arm tasks. I'm serious. I'm not even trying to make fun of someone who has who has a loss of limbs, but like they kept giving him 2-arm tasks. Like there's a part. All right, I was gonna talk about the one-arm section later.
No, talk about it later. Talk about it later.
Talk about it later. All right.
I might have jumped. I jumped.
No, you're good. I'm gonna get to it. I promise you.
I didn't know about those in the notes.
Man, but yeah. So the the backstory. I didn't need the people. Colin Farrell has 2 kids in the movie, right? So the focus is around the family. Really, the focus is around him and his family. He is someone who went to war. He comes back from war to the circus where he worked. Comes back to see his kids who he hasn't apparently seen in years. He lost his wife to, was it influenza?
Influenza. So
his wife passed away while he was gone to war with influenza. So his kids have kind of just been raised in the circus by random carnies. So he comes back. He doesn't have an arm. He realizes, oh, I lost my wife, which his reaction to losing his wife was like not as crazy as it should have been. Like it's like,
oh man,
oh y'all lost her, like
y'all, that was y'all's fault.
Yeah, like word, like what we doing for dinner? Like what? Like you need to have a greater reaction, buddy, to that. Huge question here. So it's 1919 when the movie is set. Colin Farrell is white, as he is in real life. His wife was black. They were too casual with it. And what I mean by that is obviously that's no issue today. But in 1919, that was a no-go. So how is he going to play that like, it's just like whatever. Also, his biracial kids just being raised in the carnival, like that wouldn't have been a normal like thing in 1919. So I get Disney's trying to be inclusive. Movies, very big push to be inclusive. But like also make it realistic. Like if you're going to include like at least like acknowledge like, hey, this was not a normal thing in 1919. Like you wouldn't just be rolling around. So
again, a little bit of, and I think that's where I wasn't tracking. Like it was a little confusing. So they're like, the first scene is like obviously the Starville thing, and they're like rolling through, and it's like they're rolling through with some workers working in a field.
Yeah.
And it's 1919.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wonder if they're gonna. And they turned around and it's like a bunch of like white people, and I'm like.
That wouldn't have been the case, right?
That's
like,
not. I don't think that was the case.
That's historically accurate. So it was this, when you're gonna again, and it was. Oh, that's the other thing too. So they made it a point to put it in 1919. The original film came out in 1941, which again, still race relations were terrible then. But if you're gonna put a movie back in that time when it's not necessary, like this movie could have very well taken place in 2019. Like it didn't have to be back then for them to still give us the same story. So if you're gonna put it back then, at least be historically accurate. Also, the brother was white. So Colin Farrell has 2 kids. The girl is clearly mixed. The boy is 100% white. So I was like, are we going to explain that? And the girl's older. So he was married, had her. Did he have an affair and then have the white boy? Or are we just going to act like the boy's mixed? Could they not find a mixed actor? A light-skinned black boy to act, maybe a dark white kid? Like, I mean, this kid, I was like, Disney, what are we doing here?
So I will say, I didn't pick up as heavily as you did on that. And I think that's probably a problem. In the movie, you're supposed to go to a movie to, like, be able to track, everybody's able to track pretty closely with your neighbor.
Yeah.
I had some more questions, like some completely different questions. I'm like, who just raised, like, how like,
who raised them? Like, right? Like, because the one dude, Max, Danny DeVito in the movie, he can barely take care of himself
at all.
And the circus. So, like, they were just out here just like
for years,
like we're just living, like, and then he comes back. So it was a lot of holes in the plot where I'm just like, what are we doing, peeps?
Yeah, they're kids. Like that means you were taking care of like as a.
And they're small kids. Yeah, they're like small kids. And I'm like, when did she? And he's like, oh, when did she go? Like talking about his wife, and they're like, don't like. He was way too casual with it.
Way too casual.
Also, I was wanting to see a movie about Dumbo that featured people like the original. Again, not the original to be the standard because it wasn't that great, but if I'm going to see this, like I'm thinking I'm going to see same thing with like a Jungle Book. Like it was around Mowgli, but it was very much like about the animals and like how the animals interacted in like the food chain, and then just how like humans like came into that like infrastructure. Whereas this is very much about the family and the people, and it's like, oh, and we have this really weird elephant. Like, I don't really care about the people, right? Like, I don't really care about their storyline. I don't care about their backstory. I don't care about the girl wanting to be a scientist. I don't care. Like, all I want to know is about Dumbo, and I get they put a lot of stuff because, like, I guess it makes it more palatable as a live action to have, like, not the animals talking and, like, stuff like that. But I want to see the animals talking like they did with Jungle Book. Like,
well, and almost like you said about the eyes, like, you almost did put too much of it, like, you made the animal talk by having big blue eyes like that. And
Yeah,
like,
it was distracting.
like that's another sense where it's like, okay, well, you're trying to like fit both into like the animal has a voice for itself to be like a calm, like cute thing.
Yeah.
Go on, like pick a direction. Pick a direction, and I'm fine with it.
I didn't know what was happening. I don't know. I just wasn't a huge fan of that direction with it. And Dumbo didn't. I don't think Dumbo said a single word in the first one. It was more like the other elephants and his like homie like pet mouse that was like rolling with him in the first movie. But I don't think it was. I don't think he even spoke. So it was less of that. It could have been, you know. And this is a far reach. I was gonna test the end, but I think you could make this movie, and I think more movies could be made where you could shorten the time of the movie, and the entire movie could be either no talking or minimal talking, and it just be like a really great score. Where similar format to, and I mean this even for a live action, but also for a cartoon, similar to like how Pixar shorts are. Like, you know, the Pixar shorts, they're great, 5 minutes right before a Pixar movie, no talking, and you get the full message. You get the full message every time. So I think if you did that, but like with a really, really dope score, like a Lion King-esque score to it, like you could do that, and I could be engaged the entire movie if they did that. And I think that like that could be done. They could. I feel like people would see that. I would enjoy it at least.
Yeah, like you said, like it's an actual remake of like the original. Like,
Yeah.
Just take all the people out.
Yeah.
Almost in a sense, and just focus on what we're actually here for.
Yeah, the original. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, if they just did that, like I feel like that would be.
I'd like that. That'd be tight.
Yeah, I would go see it. Dumbo never really got justice in the first one. So I did like seeing that here. So in the first one, it kind of ends with it ends with him flying. So I did in the first one, he didn't learn how to fly until the last 5 minutes of the movie. Like the movie is literally an hour and 4 minutes long. He learned how to fly at 59 minutes. So you're watching the whole first one, and he's just getting abused like the whole time, and you're like,
come on, man.
Come on, fly.
Come
on, fly. Finally, last 5 minutes, he learns how to fly.
You didn't even get to enjoy it.
No, I say he didn't even get to enjoy his powers. Like so, and then and then it ends with him. The scene where they do the burning building scene, like they had put in this one as well, and he jumps from there. And he's about to fall. Sure enough, flies at the last minute, flies around. They're like, oh my God, he's great, blah, blah. And then he becomes the main act. So he gets like a really nice like car on the train, and him and his mom are like chilling on the train. It's like, yeah, he's our number one act. But they're still like enslaved. Like they're still like not free. So I think that was great they did that in this movie, where at the end, at the very end, all the animals are freed, and then they adopt this format of a circus without animals.
Yeah.
So that was really dope, and he goes off and can do his thing, and he's accepted by his own fam and elephants. In the original movie, like, he was ostracized by not only the people, but by elephants, which, crazy concept that, like, you're at a circus, and they have the audacity to, like, call you out for having big ears. Like, we have, like, a typical circus, like the girl with like a beard and like
woman, yeah.
The guy who's like super strong, like the guy who looks like a fish, and the person who can breathe fire, and like all these weird things. And then
big ears.
And we have an elephant with big ears. It's like, oh my God, like get that thing away from him. I'm like, what? Like, why is that? That's the weirdest thing you've ever seen, is an elephant with slightly big ears, like.
And it's a baby, so it's like it'll probably grow into those.
Yeah, that would be my initial thought. So it was just like really weird that was like, we get that thing out of here, it's a monster. So.
Yeah. Also, like you said at the end of the movie, like they adopted this whole like a circus without animals.
Yeah.
And like I noticed that.
Yeah.
But guess what? Holt was riding a horse.
Yeah, the horse. Yeah, the horse couldn't get out.
So the horse couldn't get out.
Yeah.
So I was like, dang. Is that like a hidden meaning?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe horses just never get free. I don't know. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, you definitely had the horse.
They're like letting like everything go, and all of a sudden you see Holt, and he's just.
Can you imagine if like the horse was like, I'm about to be free, and hold on, hold your horses, literally.
Not you. You come on back.
Get back here, silly.
Come on back.
Silly goose. You thought you were getting free?
Nah.
He pulled up on that horse at the end like Travis Scott in sicko mode though. Like when the whole the whole thing was burned, the circus was burned down. He came galloping on the white horse. It literally, first thing I thought they were just about to like drop sicko mode. That would actually be hard. I might try to edit that on my own. If someone else edit it, please. But like I might go on my own and try to edit. Do an edit with Dumbo, but with sicko mode playing in the background.
I can see it too.
He's coming on you. You can picture it.
I can picture that. If you can't picture that, you don't belong.
Yeah, you're not really well versed on your Dumbo.
Yeah,
if you can't picture it.
No.
In the first one too, I want to make note that that also, I'm sorry, I keep coughing and like clearing my throat in the mic. I've done it like the last couple of weeks. I don't know what's happening. I don't know if it's the weather changing or maybe puberty. Maybe my voice is getting deeper. I don't know. Like I think I'm growing to. I think since I left work, can you tell I've been like I've grown an inch?
Just like a little bit. I also it's
growth
like
spurt's coming.
You're like the way you're clearing it's like matter of fact. It's not like a subtle like. It's like
oh yes. It's all up in the mic. Sorry, people. I'm sorry you had to keep hearing that.
Yeah, look, sorry, Ryan.
Yeah, right. If you're still listening. So in the first film, Dumbo accidentally drinks water that someone just dropped, like booze, like champagne in, and he gets really drunk, and then he wakes up, and so he sees all these hallucinations, right? And in the morning, he wakes up, and he's at the top of this tree, and it's like, Dumbo, how did we get up here? Like he's talking to the birds, and he's like, how did I get up here? And it's like, oh, you flew up here. They fall and they start flying. He starts, fly to get off the tree. And it's like, oh, so, like literally, like in the original, he blacked out and then wakes up in a tree and that's how he realized he could fly.
I think
that's why they took it out of this one.
I think when they were making those originals, like you had to make because you knew you were going with your kids,
right?
So it's like you had to make some things like applicable to some like adults,
some older people, yeah.
Yeah, you're like you've done this.
And stuff was like flew more back then. Yeah. Like they had like Bugs Bunny was smoking a cigarette and certain stuff, and it was like they could do that back then. Like that was like my great grandmother, like she smoked. I think she started smoking as like a teen, which I mean you hear that a ton from like people from like older generations where it's like, oh, we didn't realize the health risk and
it was
all
like
that stuff.
Like,
it was legal. So.
Yeah, it was super. Like they were endorsed. They were like, do it.
Yeah.
Doctors, doctors are like, you should do this.
Yeah. Right.
You're like, no, I don't think.
Man. I didn't realize how crazy it was until like I started watching like Mad Men, and they were was it Lucky Strike was featured on there, and there was like a lot of the tactics that they did with like real things like ads and tactics that they used to like reach out to like kids and stuff like that back in those days. So crazy. As far as the acting, Danny DeVito is like perfect for that role, like as like the ringmaster. Like he just fit like the little short, stumpy guy trying to like make a quick buck. Like he fits that role perfectly. So some of the other acting reminded me, the kids particularly reminded me of A Wrinkle in Time. I don't know if you saw that, A Wrinkle in Time. Did you like it? It was crap to me, so you don't have to like the.
Yeah. And it was one of those things where it's like, okay. Like I literally was like, okay.
Yeah, I had a feeling it was gonna be whack. So I went with my sister, and I always like I have a good. Obviously, you go see enough movies, like you have a good feeling. You're like, okay, from the preview, like, it's a little whack.
Yeah.
So I said, yo. Kid, I called my sister Kid. I was like, yo, it's about to be whack. She said, oh, you wanna go? So we were like home, or I think I was home vacation. I was like, oh, you know what? I'll go see it because you wanna go see it. Sure enough, we both went. I was like, I told you. She's like, yeah, you did, and it was whack.
It was very whack. It was whack, but you appreciate what it might have tried to accomplish.
Yeah, it had some pieces. It had some pieces where it could have gone. I mean, you had some big name actresses in it, and could have went a direction, but whatever. The little girl in the movie. I tried to cough outside of that.
That was a nice one.
I tried, yeah. The little girl in the movie, in Dumbo, I thought she was like a really trash actress. And the little boy had like 2 words, I think the whole movie, but like the acting was just she gave me like Bran Stark vibes a little bit, like kind of like the like distant like vibe, weird, annoying. I don't know.
I felt like what's the movie where like the twins are standing in the hallway and they're like,
oh, is it The Shining?
Yeah, I feel like she might have been like one of them.
One of them, yeah. She was odd. I don't know. She just had something about her. I wasn't feeling her vibes at all.
Yeah.
The French girl was really cute.
Yes.
Just side note, not even noting her acting skills, but she was really cute. So
just a little side note.
Yeah, she actually French. I didn't research that, or was that a French accent?
Is that a little racist for you not to know that?
To know if she was like, if that was an accent or not?
Yeah.
No, it's not racist. I don't know if, maybe she had a really good accent or maybe it was a bad accent. And I don't know.
I like the approach.
Yeah,
I
have no idea. One arm. So I'm at one arm.
There we go. This is what I'm excited for.
So,
folks, get ready.
Again, I feel like him having one arm was more of a distraction than something that helped move the plot and story forward. Couple notes. So he gets off the train, he has one arm. So the villain that we referred to earlier in the movie, who died pretty quickly, who was just like tormenting Dumbo, like he was just like picking on Dumbo just because. He is like one day he's like picking on Dumbo, and Colin One Arm, I'll just call him One Arm. They called it at one point in the movie. They start calling him One Arm Cowboy. So One Arm Cowboy knocks him down, like punches him and knocks this guy down. The day I get knocked down by someone with one arm.
Maybe
no, I can't.
Maybe Kevin Hart said, you know, like you get in touch, like your lip being touched by, like, by a homeless person. He's like, you got to go buy a new lip. Like you got to go start a new life if that happens to you.
And then dude like looked at him like almost like in fear, and I was like, he has one arm, and again, not to diss anyone
at all,
missing limbs at all, but it's just again, I'm not going to like
come from his weak side.
So right, like I mean, right, like it's just like, what are we doing? Like someone like I just didn't understand that. Also, if I'm Colin Farrell, there's no way I'm going to war to fight for my country, losing an arm, and then come back and then work as a clown. Like I deserve so much more respect than that. Like, they were disrespecting my guy the whole movie in terms of, like, again, they start calling him One Arm Cowboy, and, like, they made several references, like, dissing his arm, his lack of having another arm, and I'm like, yo, this dude fought for our country and, like, 100%. Came back, and then y'all just throw him into, like, you're gonna be a clown. Like, what? Like,
yeah.
He had no respect being a veteran at all.
Like you said, he had 2-arm jobs the entire time.
Yeah. He was in charge of keeping the animals in check. Why did y'all give that job to him? At the very end of the movie, his job, when they were trying to help Dumbo escape, his job was to climb to the top of the tent and cut open a hole in the tent and then climb back down. That is a 2-arm job. I couldn't do that with 2 arms. If I had 3 arms, I probably would have struggled. They send 1 arm up there to do it. Why would you, like, and it was like almost to just, and obviously he struggles, obviously he falls and catches himself barely.
Yeah.
I'm like, why do they keep, like, well, this is not necessary, like,
like, if you think of, like, logistically in a Walt Disney, like, if you climb all the way up there, you have to, like, he has 1 arm. So 1 arm has to be used to cut the tent. What's holding him? So he's just he's just sliding down slowly?
I mean, that...
Then what stops you?
I mean, his toes, I don't know if they were, like, gripping the tent.
That's
or,
what
like,
I'm saying.
That man had some strength. So, it was just not necessary to have it in there because it was never a point full circle, like, bringing it back, like... Again, the point of the movie wasn't like, look, you can do anything. Kind of like it was that emphasis was more on the girl who like wanted to be a scientist, and they were like, you can't be a scientist, little girl. And obviously, it's like I can do anything I want. It's like, don't limit yourself. And it was even that like made mention of like, don't let anyone tell you what you can't do.
Yeah.
And
I like that.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, because I'm a huge believer in that. Like you can do whatever you like. I know it's like cheesy and cliche, and like parents telling their kids like you can do whatever you put your mind to. I'm a firm believer in that. And I think anyone can do anything that they ever like. I feel like that way about myself, and I feel like anyone else, if you adopt that like thinking,
sure,
you can accomplish anything for sure. So I love that. That's like being like pumped into the message, and again, like obviously a girl and a minority girl, again, same lines like A Wrinkle in Time. So like that's like a part of Wrinkle in Time that's like dope. Yep. So like again, like having that girl not only be or having that person not only be a girl but a minority girl, I think is huge. But yeah, like him having 1 arm, like just didn't really make sense.
And like 2 cents towards like the last topic of like 1 arm possibly is like they gave him another, like they gave him like
that was the next rant when they randomly gave him a prosthetic arm. They didn't even say anything. It was one scene he didn't have an arm, next scene he had an arm, and they didn't say a word. And I was like, are we gonna explain this, or like did he just what are we doing?
And then my thing is like don't do where like I could tell you like that was just your regular arm and like with a glove on it. Like you got to use like the first part like he had to kind of like tuck it in when he came back from war.
Yeah.
Then like you got this prosthetic and you could tell like that's your real arm. They just put like a fat glove on you,
bro.
So it's like you just had to straighten your arm like this.
Yeah. And just keep it straight.
And just keep it straight.
Yeah.
Like don't play me like I don't know what's happening,
bro.
Because I don't really. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe I didn't know what was happening.
It was like, and then so they did a couple things too, where it's like comedic relief, where like when Dumbo started chewing on his arm, and took it off and twisted it. Hey, Dumbo, hey, give my arm back.
Get back here.
He took his arm and he put it back on, and when he put it back on, it was like crooked. I was like, y'all, Disney, what are we doing, man? Like, come on, like, what? Come on.
They're funny. funny.
But yeah, so I just didn't. Oh, also, Colin Farrell. Again, his whole role, I just had questions about. He started at the end of the movie. He started calling Dumbo Big D. Was not a fan. Was not a fan of that at all.
He said.
He said 2 times. I counted because I was like, how many times? I was like, I let it. The first time I was like, all right, Colin, you let it slide. Or you let it slip. We'll let that. And he's like, all right, Big D. And I was like, no, stop. Why are you?
And I quote, he like smacked Dumbo on the butt. He was like, "Go get him, Big D." And I was like,
"That's what he said."
That's not good.
No, in Disney, you know better. You know when they were writing that, and it was so unnecessary, and it wasn't it was almost more like they were trying to be slick because it wasn't a reoccurring thing. Like if it was like in terms of throughout the entire movie, like if everyone just called that throughout the whole movie, we'd have got desensitized to it and just been like, all right, like weird but okay. But the fact they slipped it in at the end,
yeah,
just real quick during action, it was like, okay, you thought like some of the writers thought they were being funny. Like, all right, we're gonna throw this in there for like exactly, slow day at the office, exactly. This is exactly what it seemed like. So
yeah, and his name was it was Jumbo, then it was Dumbo, then it was Big D. So you're like
looking sideways, like
yeah. Come on now.
Like the consequence, like you can't see me if you're listening, but you know the meme where he's like looking like skeptical and shaking his head. I don't know if anyone knows or not consequence. Conceited, the battle rapper. If you ever seen that meme. So the cinematography I thought was really dark and creepy, like I mentioned before with the eyes. There was a "Baby of Mine" song that was in there. It was like the only like real original song in the movie, and I thought that was a pretty good song. Just side note. The ending. So again, I think I mentioned before, I liked at the end how they freed all the animals. I thought that was that was needed because that was going to be like when I was watching, that was one of the things that when I rewatched the first one, I was like, they have to free all these animals or else I'm going to be pissed. So I'm glad they Disney knew what they were doing there, took note of that. I like again like how his own like elephant peeps like accepted him, even though it was their first time ever seeing a flying elephant. Obviously, when they're like in the wild wherever they dropped the elephants off at, that was dope. Again, the movie could have been no talking in my opinion, and it wouldn't have really changed much. Overall, I do think that Disney's getting lazy.
Ooh, wow.
Love Disney, and I'm a huge Disney fan.
Same.
I think Disney's getting lazy. I think particularly with some of the writing. I think some writers think that they can get lazy with kids movies because like as if kids are like dumb and can't pick up on things, and obviously kids aren't as observant as adults, and obviously can't understand plots as deeply as we do. But you can still have a really well written movie that's a kids movie. But that's really it. You can have a really well written movie that's a kids movie still.
That's a bold statement.
So point being, like, we talk about the classics. We talk about the Aladdins, the Hercules, the Lion Kings, the Mulans, the Tarzans, like some of those like great '90s movies, and obviously there's a ton more that I'm missing. But those are well written movies.
Very well written.
Very much like G or PG movies though. Very much kid movies. But today I can watch it, not because I grew up with it, but today I can watch it and be like, wow, that's a good movie. You know what I mean? I can remember like movies that like my parents took me to, like one that my dad always mentions. I don't know if this is just like his jam, I guess, but Prince of Egypt. Like that is a classic. Like Prince of Egypt is a classic movie, and obviously it's from he'll like talk about that like the movie Prince of Egypt. I'm like, Dad, that was like 20 years ago, man. I was like, it was fire, but like it was like 20 years ago.
It didn't stand out to me like it's like it is to you.
Yeah, it was his jam. But Prince of Egypt is one of my favorite movies. So I mean, I'm not saying that like it's not a great movie, but it's just funny, like that's one that he always like remembers, like we went to go see as a kid or whatever. But point being is like, and obviously that's from a biblical story. You know what I mean? They obviously have it animated and stuff like that. But great movie. But where everyone can appreciate it, but it's a kids movie.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So they put it in a way where it's a kid, where the target audience is children. So I think Disney is getting lazy on that front for some of these. Again, what were you gonna say?
No, I have a question for you then. So, and then I have a question about the movie. Do you think that Disney, with you saying them being lazy, do you think they're like you do your Disney remakes, like what's next for Disney? Like it's just hopping on to like be able to pay for somebody else's, you know, movie or whatever the case may be, because you're done remaking the original.
That's what you're saying, yeah. So like, yeah, I get what you mean. So, I mean, you know, and obviously Disney still makes original movies. You know, they still putting out original content, and it's not just like remaking. But with that being said, yes, I do feel like you are watering down. Like, is this going to be your new play? Like, each year we get like 4 live action versions of like 90 film, you know, the 90s classics. Like, I don't want to see a live action Hercules. Now, with that being said, my trailers that I wanted to mention at the end, which I've been nervous about, but I just saw 2 full-length trailers, one today, and then the other one I saw when I went and saw Dumbo the other day. I hadn't seen the full-length one for this, or longer version. Aladdin and Lion King trailers look amazing. The longer, well, you know, like 2-minute trailers look amazing for it, and that's me being super skeptical of the live actions and feeling like they're unnecessary to make.
Yeah.
I do think the trailers look really good, and I am now like I'm very like cautious, but I'm hoping that they're good.
I think so. I heard you in the office one day. It was before they like released a bunch of like a lot more trailers about Aladdin. Yeah. And we were like, I don't know.
It was looking It was looking iffy. Like when they released like the initial one with Genie and Will Smith, I was like, come on, Disney, what are we doing? Yeah. But now that I've seen more that he's not going to be this big blue like CGI thing the entire movie, like he's going to be just actual Will Smith, I'm like, okay, I can deal with that. Like that's cool. Like it's real life. So some stuff you just can't make look fake.
Sure.
So I think like even like Dumbo, like outside of when someone was like riding Dumbo in the movie, when he was just like flying alone, it looked, you know, obviously you knew it wasn't real, but like it looked good. Yeah. Like they did a good job with it. Same thing, Jungle Book looked good. So I am so you know, it looks good. I just, you know, I just don't think I think they're getting a little lazy with it. And it's like, come on, let's create some let's do some live action, but an original story.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for them. I'm hopeful that it won't. Yeah. That it'll be better. That it won't be, you know, lazy.
So we'll see. Yeah. Dumbo overall was really dark, and again, I think the movie was very much about animal cruelty, and it was really, really dark until you get to the end. Like it's very sad with very few bright spots. You have a few like sprinkled spots of like showcasing human decency, where like someone the kids really care for Dumbo, but a lot of times it's just people letting the animals and other people that were relying on them down. It's like kind of dark, and you know, so it wasn't like, it's a hard film to watch. It definitely wasn't like a happy-go-lucky movie. I definitely want a Dumbo Believe poster. Like I don't know if you like when he was like opening the circus like that. I found one. I can't remember what site it was, but I definitely want a Dumbo Believe poster.
That'd be tight.
Yeah,
that'd be tight.
It was cool looking. Did you saw? No, I sent this to you. It was like right before I saw you though. Ranking of Disney's live action movies. If you have your top 3 that they've done so far.
The Jungle Book is my number 1.
That's fair.
Like the Jungle Book's my strong number 1. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's hard because like I was looking at this list of all the live action, like I cheated a little bit, and so you have like some really, really good ones. Like Maleficent was like competing for like 2 or 3. So it was, I guess I go Jungle Book, Maleficent, and then Beauty and the Beast.
That's fair.
I feel like all 3 of those kind of, for me at least, are tied. Like they're all tied somewhere in there between. They could all be number 1.
Yeah, and I think a lot of those are along the same lines. So I chose Christopher Robin is my number 1. I love Christopher Robin. I keep telling people to watch it, and they're like, oh, should I? It doesn't look good. And I'm like, yes, it's great, but maybe it's just me. I don't know. I really love Christopher Robin, though. Jungle Book was my 2, but could be like someone, it could definitely make an argument for 1, because Jungle Book was really good. And Maleficent was 3. And Maleficent and Jungle Book. Like, again, all 3 of these, if someone were to argue me down on like one of these being like one replacing like Christopher Robin as 1, or like 1 going to like 2 going to 3, I wouldn't really argue with them, because I'd be like, yeah, these were all like really good movies.
And that's where I feel like, so you made that statement, you're like Disney got lazy, but I feel like they had one story that like Cinderella wasn't one of those things where like they did it in a different way. Like Maleficent or Beauty, like whatever the case, they did really, really good with like the little that they had.
Yeah, so that's it. So that's a good point. So I think that's a smarter way to go about it than to just straight up remaking a movie, is to take the original and then maybe like not a spin, like you do kind of like a sequel, but not really a sequel, more of a spinoff. Like Maleficent is more of a spinoff, so they did kind of like the whole thing like they did with Wicked.
Yep.
So you see the same story, but from the villain's perspective, and why they aren't really a villain, you know. So Maleficent that's a good one because it's not a remake. It's live action, but it's taking the original cartoon and spinoff. Christopher Robin, not a remake. Like there was no original. There's plenty of Winnie the Pooh movies in the Pooh animated series and stuff like that, but there's no like Christopher Robin. He's older and goes like so. Again, taking the original characters that you love, but then creating this different story.
A whole story.
So I think if they were to do that with Lion King, where there's some, and I don't know what that looks like, and I'm not going to speculate or like come up with like some. Maybe if I think through it a little bit, I'll share my idea. But like they, maybe you do something different with the characters.
Yep.
But to do the exact same thing, but like just change some of the verbiage and change some of the storyline and maybe add a character and get different voice actors, like that's kind of like what are we doing here?
Yeah. I like that. And kind of going back to Dumbo, like I had one note on it, like, and you may or may not have seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Like they kept the storks.
Yeah.
I was like, awesome. Like,
yeah.
There's no better way to like kind of top that off for me is like to show like the storks. Like that was a huge moment for me in the movie.
You're a big stork guy.
Well, I was like, look, that's how it happened.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
that's how it happened. So I mean, don't try and play me like.
Yeah, you don't want to have like the elephants hooking up.
Yeah.
Keep the storks in there for the kids.
Keep the storks in there. So yeah. Like when they like take a little bit of like what you used to see,
right, and
make it something where it's not like just it overtook you, but you're like this is good.
Yeah, you could definitely argue that this one was better than the original.
Yeah.
So out of 10, what would you give it?
Like I immediately called my girlfriend and I was like, I gave her the review, and I'm pretty sure like I was like, look, I'm pretty sure it's like a 6.4, 6.5.
Yeah.
Like it was like.
Has she seen it?
No, she hasn't seen it. Lydia, you got to go see it, but like. Maybe don't see it because that's a 6.4, 6.5. But no, it's like one of those things where you're just like, if I never saw that again, like I wouldn't. I wouldn't lose any sleep.
Right, that's fair. How would you suggest someone go see it? Either opening night, $5 Tuesday, Netflix, or don't watch it all?
Netflix. Cool.
That's what I had. I have Netflix as well. So my rating was a 5.9, so not far off from what you said. Yeah. Not a great movie. Like I said, kind of dark. Not really uplifting. Didn't need to be made. Maybe slightly better than the original, but I don't know if I want to even say it was better than the original. It was just like not that great, but in a different way. But yeah, if you watch it on Netflix, you have kids, something for them to watch. Maybe you can. If you don't watch it, again, you will not lose. Like you said, you won't lose any sleep.
Not a bit.
Any upcoming, I know I mentioned, Lion King. I saw that trailer literally today, and I was like, my goodness, like that trailer just got me hyped because I was skeptical, and now that trailer got me hyped, and I don't know what to think. So I'm excited about that one. Also, like I said, the extended trailer of Aladdin that I saw when I went to Dumbo the other day looked dope. So do you have any trailers that you're pumped up?
Absolutely. Avengers, just because it's like.
Yeah. Let's see how this thing ends.
Let's see how it ends.
Let's see how they wrap it up.
And then Toy Story.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And like I haven't I love the trailers that I've been seeing, but like sitting at theaters and seeing the one extended trailer that I did get to see, I was like, this is gonna be something that breaks my heart.
Yeah, I already know I'm gonna end up crying.
Yeah.
In Toy Story 4, Toy Story 3 already had me close to tears, and I went to see that in theaters twice. I'll probably go see Toy Story 4 probably twice too, if not more. In theaters, movies come out so much quicker now from theaters to now being available to stream, so it's no need really. But
I feel like Disney knows what they do. Like they know the movies that have people's hearts. Yeah, and they're like, we're gonna play with them.
Yeah, really
mess with them a little bit.
Watch Christopher Robin, man.
and so I saw. You did watch Christopher Robin? I watched Christopher Robin.
Is there so many parts where you're like, yo, I could cry?
There's a lot of them.
And maybe I'm just soft.
Well, again, and you've reviewed it, correct?
I didn't review. No, I started the podcast after Christopher Robin came out, right after. So I wish I would have.
Well, it's just one of those things where it's like, I think the whole point of Disney, and I love Disney, I love everything. I go to Walt Disney World every year. Yeah. It's never grow up, never get old. Yeah. And so it's to watch to watch a kid who was a animated person or in a book to get old and forget about it. You're like, man. Yeah. I'm not a kid anymore.
It is sad, like, when you see that, and you're like, wow, like, yeah, I'm gonna end up, like, well, I am an adult. You know
Yes.
what I mean? Like, I'm gonna say, man, I'm gonna be an adult one day, like, hey, I'm an adult.
Todd coughed twice and he grew up.
Yeah, right?
He's past puberty,
My
guys.
voice is deeper now, but yeah.
This is Todd coming through.
Yeah. I'm gonna do, like, real deep, low voice from now on.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, yeah, it is, like, kind of sad, like, that part of it is, like, yeah, he's growing up now, like, and you kind of, like, forget, like, kind of that whole, like, you know, still be young at heart, believe deal. But
Yeah.
that's all I had, folks. You have anything else that you'd like to share with the listeners?
No, I think that's about it. I think the one thing that I had left is, like, to be aware of the, what's his name? Like, the strongman. He looks like the exact same strongman from the Green Mile.
Yes, right? I
That's him.
can't remember his name, but yes. I swear I thought the same thing. Yeah.
I was like, yep, should I be scared? Should I?
Right, yeah.
Alright.
He looked just like him, man. I definitely thought that.
Yeah.
It was kind of scary how close they.
Yeah, I should have thrown that in earlier in the podcast, but that was just something, like, if I didn't get that out, like, I feel like I didn't do my full note review. So
I appreciate that.
that's my full
Being
note review.
thorough. Thanks everyone for listening. Until next time, peace.